Hey, creatures. I'm Sir Isaac Newton. Just kidding. I'm Shira. We are kicking off our interview series here. It's my honor and privilege to introduce my darling friend, the inspiration to us all, my dear friend, Amanda. Listen, listen, folks. The point of Creatures of Nature is to hear the voices of humans from all different walks of life. Amanda here has done some incredible, really interesting work. Amanda is like the interview extraordinaire. She has done countless interviews. I've had the difficult task of narrowing down some questions. So let's start off by just how you got into this work in the first place, what drew you to it, and then like specific topic that you chose.
I grew up in Seattle, and I lived right next to the library where there was a huge homeless encampment for many, many years. And it's weird because I went back recently and it's gone, and we had a farmer's market, and that was the weirdest thing because it hasn't been like that in maybe 8 years because they've just been located there for such a long time. But in high school, I would go with my friend and I would just talk with them for hours. A lot of them just wanted support and just a person to listen to. I realize now that was not maybe the sixth thing. It was wonderful to just kind of not only have them have an outlet, but also be able to see that people in the neighborhood care about them. I became friends with a lot of them, and I think the hardest part was just seeing that there wasn't support available for them. There are significant issues with trying to eradicate it, not by creating programs, but just by not letting them have a place to stay. I wanted to understand for my project, first of all, and to have these interviews in person, create that space where people can understand their stories. Because I think people think that homelessness is a choice. And throughout the work that I've been doing for since I was 16, I have been trying to prove that that is not the case. It is mostly based on circumstance. Anyone can be in that situation. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, for kind of see myself in younger you in some ways, as I am from Seattle as well, born and raised. 15, 16-year-old, I spent a lot of time in downtown Seattle, ended up talking to a lot of people living on the street. But then, what ended up happening in a lot of cases was just very human interaction of just someone that was like looking for connection, didn't even realize what was happening is they were looking for humanization because they'd been dehumanized.
From everyone around me.
Yeah, and there's a lot of nuance and complexities. Everyone is different, so you could talk to someone that is totally with good intentions, and you could talk to someone who is dangerous. So that's the case with everyone. Your projects, your big projects. Tell us about that.
Project. So I got this grant called the Adventure Learning Grant, and you basically get a stipend of money where you create a project, and it can be whatever you want to do. But I really wanted to make it be worth something because I know that I might not ever have this opportunity again. And so this proposal was housing. It was kind of looking at housing. But then they saw my art and they were like, what if you add an artistic component I have been around this community for a long time, and I understood the worry about them being afraid of having their image out there. So I didn't think that was going to be a huge component. And so a lot of it actually led to more anonymous in-person interviews, each spanning like 2 hours long. So basically my project was doing these interviews with different organizations that I found to be effective in Europe. And I would also interview people that had been on the streets or off the streets now, but were currently in the system for a very long time. I have maybe 50 plus interviews, and that includes in-person interviews with, again, organizations and also individuals as well.
Amazing.
Each spanning like 2 hours long. So a lot of work for me. If I could have a stipend, that would be great. But oh yeah, so work that I was already doing, and I really wanted to see what would be effective in the US.
Along with everything else incredible about the amazing Amanda, that's your tagline, the amazing Amanda. Yeah, as you'll see here, she is an unbelievably talented artist that I literally takes my breath away. Strikes so much emotion. Way you depicts people emotion is so powerful. So it's just incredible.
The grant itself was written not to the benefactor's reasonings, but the lawyer that was employed a very colonialist point of view. And so I really wanted to not have that because I felt going to a foreign country and helping these NGOs and doing stuff for people felt wrong. And so I thought, what is the best way that I can contribute without hurting the communities that I'm entering?
Yeah.
And it depended on where I was. I went to many different places, if you want me to list them. Netherlands, Germany, Spain, Scotland, Ireland, and Rome. I'm used to being in these types of communities, and I understand that you don't dress splashy. For a lot of them, my interview book was just a random book that had owl on it, to the point where they actually thought I wasn't being serious. But that's how you blend in, because you don't want to have that sense of superiority
Yeah.
in any capacity unless you do need to have that, like you're a social worker or anything else. But it's first of all creating that equal footing.
Yeah. There are humans that are struggling and suffering in ways that I'm not. We're different in that way. We're human, no matter what. What did you hope to find, and what did you find?
I hope to find solutions, which I did find, like housing first and other things as well, community oriented programs. I kind of knew what was effective because I've been doing this work for a long time and I've talked with people that experienced it themselves of what they would like to see. And so my point was kind of proving
Yeah.
that these grassroots, individualistic, tailored care are extremely effective. The issue with a lot of social care is that it relies on statistics, but in these type of settings like art, music, and recovery programs, those type of methods for how does this relate to my recovery, but it's not necessarily directly substance use programs, it's other methods. It's not digestible. It's not, you aren't able to easily quantify it on a data sheet. Right. It's more individualistic, which is seen to be effective, but it's hard to prove that. Reintegration programs, but mostly ones that focus on fostering that sense of community so they can develop that self-sufficiency for themselves again.
I really want to emphasize the housing first thing and kind of say how I understand it as, someone who doesn't know as much as you do. But what I do know, just from common sense,
Yeah.
is that you need to be in shelter before you can be employed and before you can like start really building up any kind of financial security. Because I mean, like, think about any application I have ever filled out. You put your address down, like your residence, your place of residence, to apply, to even get an interview. So it's really not in any way realistic to say to folks, yeah, go get a job when they're sleeping on the street, when they're, in a tent under a bridge.
I love this place. It was called Noise, Noiz, in the Netherlands. I just love the Netherlands because they had the best amount of social care that I've ever seen in my entire life. Through ecosystems, through peer support, through social care. They had triage teams that would tailor the care to that specific person. But why I bring up Noise is because that was a temporary housing shelter where they could use the address to apply for jobs.
Right.
They could get clothes, free food that was donated from the different local communities. And they had a community. They were a family. The amount of laughter that I heard, I always wanted to go there. I had shifts from probably maybe 10 a.m. all the way up to midnight the next day. Wow, I was just there because I didn't want to leave. It was truly there. Of course, were moments, and they would try to shield me from them. But I was like, I've done this work forever. You want me to? Where it is high stress and everything else, the trick is to create that consistency of stability and family, and they had that. So they're able to create that through each other and then for themselves, I think is really important.
I mean, I wish I was there. I don't see that here. So what I do see here in this one of the richest countries in the world, or the most wealthy and the most modern, in most places you can go in this country, you can see people with only a backpack, just living on the street or trying to find shelter, but without any kind of secure housing. And then you see also then there's also billionaires. But then there's, people who certainly don't have to worry about not eating and not having a place to sleep. Did you see that in your travels, or what did you see?
Depending on where I was, because the Netherlands, again, they have a housing shortage of 500,000. So that is only what they're lacking. Not even that is not up to par with the amount of people that they have in Netherlands. But my point is, even though they have that severe housing scarcity, they have the support. Like, even there was almost nobody on the street that didn't have a place to sleep. Of course, there was a couple, but it was significantly better. I would say the best place that I saw was in Netherlands, Scotland for the amount of community support, mental clarity that wasn't, it was very strange for me to come back and see the amount of shouting and yelling and dysregulation here versus there because they all look out for each other. It was just, it's very different, and just the amount of care that they receive, it's significantly better over there.
Same, they're not all a monolith.
No, and when I was there, Germany was having a protest about their system, but they're also significantly better than ours. So yes, it's learning. Even though a system is better, they still have the reason why they got that way is through those protests and through
Yeah,
issues.
important to like go from place to place to see like their specific needs and also their unique culture. Yeah, it all can't be the same, and there isn't one size fits all.
They tailored the programs, yeah, to fit their communities, and that was seen to be the most, it's doable. We just don't do
It
it.
makes so much sense. We don't like it. Crazy how much sense it makes.
Yeah.
Common sense. It's like, what is that? We don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, housing first started in New York City.
Right. Well, tell us a bit about that.
It worked, and then in 1992, they ran this trial. I forget for how long, but it was done in New York City. It was seen to be so effective in New York City that they adopted it in Finland, in Europe, in different places.
Wow.
I was really excited because Portland adopted the Portuguese drug policy model from 2001. I was like, oh my God, they're starting to implement the programs that we see in Europe, but without implementing the supportive program. So I made the problem worse.
Right.
It's learning how to tailor them, but it's doable because I kept getting asked, why are you here? Why are you traveling to find this out? Don't you have programs there? It's like,
Oh, they don't know.
they don't know.
No.
We do. There are programs. I'm not going to say that they don't exist in the States, but something that was trial run in New York City and seemed to be effective, but is not implemented anywhere else.
It ended because of it just literally just not wanting to pay for it. Even though it worked, there's just not enough support in the nuance of problems like addiction and mental health issues. Homelessness is not a choice. No one chooses to not have a home or to not live in a safe, secure place. But there are so many things that are out of people's control.
It makes sense why people have those feelings because they don't want to end up in that situation. So if they believe that it's their fault, then it takes away that fear for them because that stigma doesn't go away even in Europe. It's still very prominent. A place that has free accommodation for a lot of people, it is sometimes more stigmatized because they think, well, you can just get council housing. They don't understand. For a lot of people, they're leaving their families. They're not used to managing a place for themselves. There's a lot of reasons, disability, access. There's so many nuanced reasons as to just providing free services that make it so difficult for people to be able to live in them.
Yeah, exactly. Because, yeah, you can't just throw someone who has difficulty taking care of themselves, caring for themselves, into this free temporary housing, this apartment where they are on their own, and just not give them any tools or just kind of, some guidance, someone to lean on, and expect that to work out. Could easily be done here with especially the wealth that we have. So not an easy thing to just go get a job. It's hard to get hired for people who have college degrees. So I'm doing that now. You can have all the material things and still be, struggling. So imagine not having any material things. Imagine that.
And this was the most effective solution that I found was this community. They're like little villages of little houses where that's for later in the process after they've gone through the rehabilitation, and even then it's a fluctuation. But that is much later. But you're able to have that autonomy for yourself while also being around your friends and your family. Creating that self-sufficiency of just having a job with a place and people that you care about and having a family where you're going through it together
Yeah.
is incredibly important.
Yeah, I mean, having that community is the most crucial piece that can't be left out. Idea behind this the sentiment of pick yourself up by your bootstraps, just like you just pick yourself up by your bootstraps and you'll be like part of our functioning society.
It used to be that way. People were able to easily get a job. My mom said she's in Oregon since she was like 13. She could just walk into this place, get a job. It was that easy. People don't understand that it's different now. So economically, we still earn basically the same wage that we have for the last 20, 30 years, minimum wage. It has not increased as exponentially as housing costs have, as food has doubled recently for a lot of people with tariffs and everything as well.
Mhm.
That belief that it's the same economically is severely damaging for not just them, but everybody involved because it's affecting the younger generations from being understood from their peers.
Yeah, exactly. When someone doesn't have what you might have, how can you just say, "Well, just go and get it," you know? Because that's easier said than done, isn't it? I would just love to talk on this topic for days and days, obviously, because it is so complex. There's so much to say. To kind of close us off here, could you share, I know there's so many, a particular profound, really impactful moment that you've had on your project, your study of doing these interviews with homeless people, and just how that impacted you?
Her name is Margaret, and I say that because she said that I can say her name whenever I say it. And she was wonderful. She's one of my interviews that I did. Afterwards, I'm just walking. This is a couple days later. I'm just walking on the street, and she's like, Amanda. And she introduces me to her husband and her family. She's like, this girl's an angel. She's doing like, and I just felt like I was actually doing something meaningful. And like the amount of support that I felt was like really cool. So we cry. But like, I know it would me too. They're just beautiful over there. And I think I wish there was more empathy towards them because they're humans. It's just kind of learning to have that empathy for the severity that they're in as well. Because it's hard. And a lot of people that I saw are severely overworked. The staff, the people, even people I met that haven't volunteered for a long time are severely stressed out. Like one person was just like, how do you do this every day? I'm like, I just do. But it's creating empathy not just for the people in the situation, but also the people that work with them because they're also amazing people. But just Lodging House mission as a whole was really one of my safe places. I went there for 3 months every day, almost every day, and it was just wonderful.
Empathy for a fellow human is to me as natural as breathing. Don't have to. I just feel like pain and sadness, to say the least,
Yeah.
to see a fellow human. It doesn't matter if I know them or not, but we are connected. As again, we can all be in these situations. We can all be in these circumstances. And, you know, if you will, and we see ourselves in each other, it just is a natural response. Doesn't have,
But it's learning to still do what you can do.
yes,
I think
yes.
it's not letting that paralyze you
With what you said of like, you wish there was more empathy
for just everybody.
yeah,
Especially in the US,
yeah.
it's so individualistic. And coming back, it was weird because even I'm a very open person. I'm like, "How are you doing?" Or even just, "Oh, excuse me." But the non-responses of people were even a disgust of like, "Why are you talking to me?" I'm like, "I'm just trying to pass you. Trying to be nice as I like go on my merry way." But it's such a difference.
I mean, it's actually quite scary. And it is very harmful when a society having the mentality of it's one person for themselves. And I mean, yeah, you got to take care of yourself first, but we all each other. We can't do it all by ourselves. Why should we? I wouldn't want to. We don't have to agree, but we do need, for all of our sakes, to just have basic humanity, empathy and respect for our fellow human. And I feel like that
It's not a weakness.
task or
Not a
not,
weakness.
it's not a weakness at all. It would definitely be our strength. It would be an actually united people continue to shed light on the unity in our humanity. And you have shed so much light. You have shared so much really powerful, incredible stories with us. I thank you for it deeply.
Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing in general.
Sometimes I really struggle saying these things at the end, but if you want to like, comment, or subscribe, that would be super duper. More people will be able to see what we're doing, even potentially join in on the conversation, what we're talking about, because I really do want to talk to you, the viewer, the audience, about your human experience. Love to you, dear creatures of nature, and I hope you love you too. Bye.